Oh no. What if people don't with Israel no more? That's what I'm always thinking about, dude. You know? Yeah, that's over. It's been over. And that's so over that it's not even just about Israel any longer. It is about democracy in and of itself. Israel is so isolated in such a pariah state that Western nations and their inability to respond to the overwhelming majorities
aid coming from.
So people do care about this. Huh. Interesting. Because you wouldn't really need a release valve if people didn't care about it, like you said, right? He looks and sounds like jank. Yeah. We got the most predictable news story of the day. Israel approving a new war plan to occupy the entire Gaza Strip. We already talked about this. Donald Trump literally said Israel can do whatever it wants, obviously. But let's take a look.
From the heavens into what feels like a living hell. On the ground, a dangerous scrum to survive, where they land on buildings, those fit enough to get up first stand the best chance. But no guarantee that any of this will prevent the deaths of the starving and desperate.
This could have cost me my life. If it weren't for the good people who lifted me up from underneath, neither myself nor this tin would have survived.
This was Gaza City. Further south, this video appears to show food trucks overturned and looted, resulting in 20 dead and 30 injured, according to Gaza's Civil Defense Agency. Health officials in Gaza said more than 80 were killed and hundreds injured while trying to collect aid in the past 24 hours. Among them, children. Medics on the ground say they're seeing cases with their own eyes.
It is the most cruel thing I have ever seen in my life, to deprive people of food in the way that has been done here, to shoot at them, to kill them, to injure them when they try to get food, and to have engineered a chaos that allows or that forces people now to fight each other and to find themselves in a sort of survival of the fittest reality.
The World Health Organization says so far this year, nearly 100 people have died from hunger-related causes. And UNICEF says in the first 2 weeks of July alone, 5,000 children were admitted to hospital for malnutrition. And as well as starvation, there is thirst. Aid groups say the water crisis is now just as severe. Groundwater polluted by sewage and chemicals seeping through the rubble. The pipes damaged by strikes and the risk of disease everywhere.
We tell the world,
the Israeli president says Israel has overhauled its approach to the humanitarian situation. But its prime minister is now said to favour a complete takeover of Gaza. He's met with senior security officials to finalise a new strategy for the war, despite the widespread condemnation of much of the rest of the world.
This would risk catastrophic consequences for millions of Palestinians and could further endanger the lives of the remaining hostages in Gaza.
In Israel too, tempers flare on the streets of Tel Aviv. Those protesting agree that heading into Hamas strongholds could be catastrophic for hostages still being held. They blocked one of the main highways last night, calling on the government to facilitate a hostage deal. In a small part of the wasteland that Gaza has become, they rake through the rubble after Israeli airstrikes overnight. It looks futile, but they begin anyway, because this is their home and their only reality.
Well, earlier I spoke to the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, who is a very vocal critic of Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's conduct in the Gaza war. I began by asking him if he thought that starvation had been used as a weapon of war.
I don't think that there was a policy of starvation. Definitely, I have to say, unfortunately, I mean, regrettably, and I'm ashamed of it, that there are factions in the Israeli...
Okay, bro. Israel literally doing the final solution in broad daylight. And you got the most aggressive critic of Benjamin Netanyahu still trying to save face for some indecipherable reason. Just be honest, man. Jesus Christ. It's like a little bit, maybe a little bit like genocide. I don't know. The policy, deliberate. It's not deliberate policy.
Cabinet and the government, which are enormously influential, which explicitly talked about starvation, about denying the Palestinians. Okay, they didn't use the term starvation. They just say that we shouldn't allow even a grain of food coming to Gaza and that we should prevent it. And if we will not do it, then they will break down the government. Okay, so you can blame them for wanting to starve the population. But this was not the policy of the government as of yet. And in the last few days, I am somewhat relieved to see that the Israeli government understood suddenly the extent of this disaster and the terrible impact that it makes, first and foremost, not of our political interest of Israel, but of the lives of hundreds of thousands of people there.
Do you think the real danger is that Israel will just isolate itself even more on the international stage and might, at the end of the day, have even less...
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Oh, no. What if people don't with Israel no more? That's what I'm always thinking about, dude. You know? Yeah, that's over. It's been over. And that's so over that it's not even just about Israel any longer. It is about democracy in and of itself. Israel is so isolated in such a pariah state that Western nations and their inability to respond to the overwhelming majorities and their completely justified demands of shutting off the money and weapons faucet to Israel is making people reconsider whether they have a democratic process at all. That's it. That's how bad the situation has gotten. That this transparent division amongst the political class and the regular people is making people second guess whether we're truly democratic at all.
...security than it thinks it has now.
We are not fighting non-involved people, and we should not fight non-involved people in Gaza. We don't want to kill them. We don't want to harm them. We want to reach out for Hamas. But we have been doing it for the last 22 months. And at this point now, what we need to do is to end the war and to bring the hostages and to be part of an effort to bring in security forces that will replace Israel in Gaza and will take over in order to make sure that Hamas is not anymore in a dominant position there.
Do you think Hamas can actually be defeated if this war continues indefinitely, as the Prime Minister seems to want it to?
No, I don't think so. You know, what is the definition of total victory, of total defeat? If one believes that we can destroy Hamas to the extent that there will not be one Palestinian in Gaza holding a gun, this is a fantasy. It will never happen.
Reminder that Olmert was prime minister, or one of his advisors dropped the "put the Palestinians on a diet" quote, and now he's saying Israel wouldn't starve people in Gaza. Yeah, the reason why the Israeli military officials very quickly also came to this conclusion, if you were paying close attention even in the early stages of this genocide, the Israeli military officials, the generals, were routinely saying, there is no military solution to Hamas. There is no military solution to Hamas. We cannot militarily defeat Hamas. Because Hamas is just an idea, okay? It's just a name. That's it. They're not like an alien force that has been able to hypnotize the Palestinian population. It is literally just an idea of Palestinian sovereignty, of Palestinian resistance. And you can kill a man, but you can't kill a man's wishes to be free. So as long as Israel exists, some form of Hamas is also going to exist, as it existed before Hamas existed. That's it. And ironically enough, the more children and women and adults, men, that you kill, the more you are creating an environment for Hamas, because Hamas in and of itself was born out of the Israeli occupation, born out of the sheer cruelty. Hamas only gained popularity amongst the Palestinian population because it was the only militant front that was using a fraction of the violence that Israel was bringing about regular Palestinians. Yeah, Fred Hampton said it best. You can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill a revolution. At least not through violence, okay? Through military means, through a continued occupation, especially when the necessity in the eyes of the overall public for militant retaliation stems from the military occupation in and of itself. This is why I spent an entire year and a half trying to explain to people the history of Hamas, the history of Palestinian resistance, the different factions, the different methods, the full brunt of the Israeli occupation that has spanned over 78 years. That's it. That's the reason why so many people fucking kept repeatedly saying over and over and over again that I was a terrorist that needs to be deplatformed immediately. And still to this day, people still try to hit those lines to an increasingly smaller group of people as the walls are closing in. That's it. That's it. And that's why, as the conditions worsen, and as more and more people recognize the sheer cruelty, the magnitude of Israel's violence, their defenders, Israel's very own defenders, become increasingly belligerent. Eyal Yacobi, breaking footage inside of Gaza shows restaurants completely operating. Why doesn't the media show this? The date on this video is 2022. He does this every single day, all day, truly vile in an almost unique way. It's wild that, like, it's wild that these dudes who learned about the dangers of Holocaust denial and Holocaust revisionism as Jews are turning around and basically using it as a checklist of what to do. Like when it almost was like we were all sitting in the same classroom learning about the horrifying nature of the Holocaust, and this was sitting there taking notes on what to do to defend Israel. It's insane. He was like, no, I was studying it for different reasons. Like, you maybe took the wrong lessons out of this. You thought, you know, it's bad and should never be replicated. I thought this is a checklist of things to do. It's insane. Yeah, it was supposed to be a warning, not a guide on what to do. Jonah Goldberg, editor-in-chief of the Dispatch, posts from the Wikipedia entry on Hamas. Political position, right-wing. Oh, shit, dude. They're right-wing? Oh, shit, man. I guess, like, they all deserve to die. All Palestinians deserve to die, then. This is why people call you a disgusting anti-Semite? Yes. Yes, exactly. This is why people call me a disgusting anti-Semite. And it doesn't work. Because if I'm a disgusting anti-Semite, literally everyone on the planet with a conscience is a disgusting anti-Semite. Do you understand how stupid that is? This is precisely the reason why this does not have the same impact. And in perhaps the more dangerous side of this conversation, the term anti-Semite not having a serious consequential impact any longer has allowed actual virulent anti-Semites to become major propagandists, to become like actual reputable figures now. Real neo-Nazi Holocaust deniers are engaging in reputation laundering. But it's so funny to look at this situation and go, this is why people call you a disgusting anti-Semite. Why? Because I just accurately relayed the truth, the dynamic that has been ongoing for what, 75, 76, 77, 78 years at this point. I know this is a troll account, but I think they bring up a good point. Because as I'm in the process of saying, Israel is starving people, and this is causing tremendous resentment. This has caused Israel to become a pariah at the global stage. Someone turning around and going, this is why people call you a disgusting anti-Semite. Yes, it is. It is why people call me a disgusting anti-Semite. And they're wrong. And so are you. And not only are you wrong, but you are completely unable to see why you are wrong. Completely unable to see what people actually feel. Anyway. Increasingly convinced this is one of the most vile people on this app. Like, more importantly, even if the post is real, the implication that the starvation is fake is vile. A population of 2 million can't survive off one restaurant, even if it's true. This one is somehow operating. We are watching people die every day, and he chooses to post this. I love Israel, period. It's sarcasm. Okay. Hadn't checked out your stream, assuming mistakenly it was just for bros. You are such beautiful breath of fresh air. Thank you for being... Damn, we got 2 people today coming in and saying I misunderstood the what you were doing here. Hell yeah. Welcome to the fight. No, apparently the restaurant was destroyed in 2023 and then was rebuilt. It was an observation, not an agreement. Though, is France an ethno-state for French people? Dude, I love this. The Hasbara bots have to find the most cowardly way. France an ethno-state for French people. If the National Front got its wishes across, then it may be. But pointing to France and claiming that France is an ethno-state is, again, one of the most idiotic ways that you could argue this. Okay? Israel is an ethno-state for Jews. Okay? It is an ethno-religious supremacist state. France is not an ethno-state for Christians, for example. You could just like move to France and become a French citizen. Each country has different processes, certainly, and some are more difficult than others. But this comparison falls short because for Israel, you can be a Jewish person anywhere around the planet and instantly get an Israeli citizenship, and the government will literally pay you to go and steal the house of a Palestinian in the West Bank. Meanwhile, Palestinians can't go and see their immediate family members. If they have any family members that are Palestinian citizens of Israel, for example, they can't go into Israel proper. It's ridiculous. I guess saying if you're a Jew anywhere around the world doesn't fully capture the entirety of the conversation, because Ugandan Jews are not allowed to get Israeli citizenship. And even the Ethiopian Jews that were able to get Israeli citizenship went through a horrifying process of sterilization for a while. Of course, if you're Russian with no immediate Jewish heritage, you still got citizenship. I wonder what that's about. Russian is the 3rd most spoken language in Israel after Hebrew and English. Anyway, did you see Adam Sosnick cry because people called Netanyahu for Hitler? What? I don't know what that is. This Jewish TikToker explains it perfectly.
I'm Jewish, and as a result, the state of Israel will literally give me an all-expenses-paid vacation to come visit. And on this trip, they will plant IDF soldiers.
Yeah.
Who will also get to enjoy this vacation, with the purpose of, 1, humanizing the soldiers who are carrying out their violent colonialism, but also, I don't know, maybe I'll find one of them attractive and we'll hook up and settle down and I'll get to marry an Israeli. Also, as a benefit of my Jewishness, if I wanted an Israeli citizenship, I could get it like that. And not only will I be a citizen of the state of Israel, but the government will literally give me the money, resources, and weapons to go to the West Bank and steal a Palestinian's home. And if I happen to kill a Palestinian while doing that, the punishment I will get will be like barely a slap on the wrist. But if a Palestinian...
Yeah, this literally happened this past week, where a famous Israeli settler who's been sanctioned in the past went and shot one of the Palestinians that actually worked on the No Other Land documentary, the Oscar award-winning documentary. He shot and killed him. The Palestinians that were next to the other Palestinian that was shot and killed, Auda Hathalin, I think that's his name. The murderer was released. It's on video. The murderer was released. The people, the Palestinian friends of Adwa, were arrested and are still in military detention. I don't know if they actually released them since the incident took place. The Israeli settler murderer got a slap on the wrist after doing this in broad daylight, on camera. It's on camera. Brian, kill me. I have no desire to live on the same planet. Really? You're going to kill yourself before you see the state of Israel fall? If you need any motivation not to kill yourself, it's that you have to outlive Zionism as an ideology. That is the greatest motivation anyone could get. That's crazy. That's crazy. If you don't have any other commitments that keep you here, then spite is good enough.
Palestinian literally has the keys to the home that their family has lived in for hundreds of years that is meaningless in the eyes of Israel. And if a Palestinian child throws a rock at the tank that is currently rolling through their town that the bulldozers just demolished, they will be arrested and held indefinitely with no trial. So I can't imagine why people would call Israel.
Spite doesn't work if your enemies are winning. They're not. They're not winning. That's ridiculous. They don't even have the aesthetics of winning at this point. What do you mean? The tide shift against Israel has been so dramatic that they're literally in a permanent state of panic, looking to try to change the term. Israel has dropped the term Hasbara and now calls this narrative control system Todah, meaning awareness. Officials admit they're losing the global narrative, not because of Gaza's reality, but due to their slow media response. Example, this, by the way, is the same exact type of idiotic, antiquated thinking that the media applied after Zoran Mamdani's victory, okay? They're like, oh, he won because of social media and nothing else. That's what we can do. You can't social media yourself out of this problem. Example, Israel claimed a starving boy died due to genetics, highlighting instead that they starved a sick child. So far, 163 Palestinians have died from starvation, and 1,300 plus have been shot while seeking aid at distribution sites turned to death zones. Israel has spent 60 million plus on flying in 550 plus influencers to help polish his image. Brianna Wu, Sex Pestiny, Michael Rappaport, Eve Fartlow, Rabbi Shmuley. These are the people that they have. Good luck. Yeah, Boner Box. A new media war room tracks how coverage is shaped globally, timing, framing, and distraction. Now, guess what? They tried to do this with the Nelk Boys. But because Israel's reputation is irredeemable, because its acts are so cruel that every single onlooker, they don't even need to be equipped with the understanding of the occupation and its violence. They can just see, I don't know, 3 to 4 different images of starving children, and it's over. That's enough for the average person to go, nope, I'm out. This country that's doing this. It's done. It's over. And that's precisely the reason why when Benjamin Netanyahu went on the Nelk Boys, it didn't actually improve Benjamin Netanyahu's image. It actually hurt the Nelk Boys' image. Think about that. That is something that is unimaginable 2-3 years ago, okay? That you have a guy who has gotten a standing ovation, a bipartisan standing ovation every single time he's spoken to Congress, going on an American podcast, and then that podcast doesn't see any benefits from that and only sees negative consequences from that. And Benjamin Netanyahu also does not get any positive press out of this. It's over. It's done. The toothpaste is out of the tube. Okay? Any sort of collaboration with head officials is a permanent stain. People who engage in prank videos and shit. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a reputable institution that tarnished their credibility. This is an institution that didn't have any credibility to begin with. And now, even that audience that goes there to full send it, getting sendy, dude. I love ripping lawn darts, dude. Even that audience is going, why aren't you full sending it, bro? Why are you full sending it with Bibi, bro? Bibi is like Satan Yahoo, bro. Now, this doesn't mean it's over. Of course, there's still a long and drawn out ideological battle here. But that's what I mean when I say there's only so much public pressure that our politicians can choose not to respond to. Okay? Without any sort of exit ramp or a pressure valve that releases, and it's seemingly because we've let Israel just completely control the conversation and completely control the Middle East policy, there seemingly is no off ramps or pressure valves. People will turn on the entire concept of democracy to begin with. People are waking up to the reality that the democratic process is not real. That's it. That's it. And as the situation worsens for Israel's image, as they can no longer launder their reputation, and as they can only continue the death and destruction campaign with politicians and with members of the media refusing to acknowledge the atrocities, all they have at their disposal is further censorship. And the more they censor, the more they go after critics of Israel, the more they try to deplatform critics of Israel, the worse things will get. Because even the most selfish, self-centered American that sees that like babies are being killed, even if they don't care about the babies being killed, do not like it when a foreign government comes in and says, oh, you don't say this. If you do say this, you're done. You're canceled. You're deplatformed. You can't get a job. Okay?
An ethno-state built on the idea of Jewish supremacy.
That's it. The only reason I understand why people think all is lost. I understand why people look at the situation and go, I mean, how can you say that there is any sort of victory here when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have been slaughtered in real time, and Israel seemingly is only slated to continue this death and destruction campaign? I get that. But the only reason why you feel that way is because it's relatively new for you. This process is relatively new. You only woke up to the realities of Israel in the last couple of years, maybe after October 7, because Israel got to kill as many Palestinians as it wanted to over and over again without Western audiences even recognizing that that was immoral or wrong. Israel got to do an apartheid freely. That is precisely the reason why Israeli envoys in the Western world are having a hard time coming to terms with this new reality that you can no longer go on mainstream outlets and just be like, these are telegenically dead children, like what Benjamin Netanyahu said after 2018, okay? And make no mistake, if you give up now, as pressure is mounting, instead of still continuously trying to get more people on board, okay, instead of continuing to keep up the pressure campaign, you're allowing those deaths to be in vain, because all is not lost. There are still 1 million+ Palestinians that live in the Gaza Strip. So you should do it for them, and you should do it for the hundreds of thousands of lives that Israel has unjustifiably taken. That's it.
There might be another grouping that hates Israel as much, if not even more, and could still become a security threat.
When Israel is separated from the Palestinians, when we are in our side of the border, we are enormously powerful, and we can destroy everything, everywhere, in the vicinity, definitely, in Gaza or in any other parts that are challenging the security of the state of Israel. We don't need to be inside Gaza. At the time that we were inside Gaza, we lost a lot and we didn't gain anything.
Briefly, do you applaud the British Prime Minister's move to recognize the state of Palestine, possibly during the UN meeting at the end of September?
No, had the Prime Minister Starmer asked me in advance, I would have given him maybe a better. I don't think that recognizing a Palestinian state should be presented as a punishment to Israel. Why is it a punishment? I'm in favor of a Palestinian state. I was fighting for the creation of a Palestinian state. I negotiated with the Palestinians in 2008 to reach a comprehensive agreement on the basis of a Palestinian state alongside the state of Israel, on the basis of the 67 borders. So I support a Palestinian state long before Starmer. But if Starmer wants to support a Palestinian state, this is a good idea. But why?
Dude, I never thought in my entire life would I see Ehud Olmert outflanking a supposedly left leader in a Western nation state, and actually do it with the correct, criticism. Like, what do you mean? That's not supposed to be presented as a punishment to the Israeli state. What a stupid way to go about this. I know Keir Starmer, also known as Kid Starver, is not a real left leader. I know that. You don't have to repeat that. I'm saying sarcastically.
Present it as a punishment to Israel. If you guys will not behave yourself, I will recognize it. And if you behave yourself, is it not a good idea anyway?
If President Trump was listening to you now, which I'm sure he is, and he does seem to have perhaps the only person who's got the power to stop Mr. Netanyahu, what would you say to Trump?
Well, I would have said to him what I said to him, I think, in our last talk and in any of the interviews I gave across the world. President, you have the power to make history. You, the only person on earth that can do something that will change immediately the lives of tens of millions of people by doing one thing. summon Bibi into the Oval Office, put him on the chair that he loves most.
Holy, bro, give it a couple months. Ehud Olmert is going to start being like, no more defensive weapons. This, everyone knows defensive weapons is how Netanyahu gets to control the conversation. What the? Give it a year, he's going to be like, I am joining Hamas. Now, I'm obviously joking. Ehud Olmert is a freak in his own right. It is crazy that the situation has gotten to a point where, like, he's seemingly the reasonable party here. This is a former prime minister of Israel, okay? He has overseen his own version of sieges. He has also been directly responsible for the continuation of the apartheid. Okay?
Which is facing the cameras in the Oval Office and telling Bibi, enough is enough. It's all over with. You end the war today. Only Trump.
Was this the prime minister that went to Epstein's apartment? No, that's Ehud Barak. This is a former Likud minister too, by the way. Like he spent the majority of his career in Benjamin Netanyahu's party. That one is Ehud Barak, the one that went to Epstein's party. This is Ehud Olmert. Ehud Barak is not Likud. Yeah. It's crazy because the former prime minister of Israel, Ehud Olmert, also in this interview implies that all it takes is one phone call or at least one in-person meeting. A report published by The Guardian revealed close cooperation between Israel's Unit 8200 and Microsoft to monitor and store all phone calls made by Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, which constitutes one of the largest military espionage projects in the world. The call monitoring system began operating in 2022 and has since been able to record millions of civilian voice calls. Jesus Christ. Oh, for Palestinians in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip too. Oh my God, Microsoft. This was the local call 972 Guardian collaborative expose, I believe. Yeah, he did it. They did it with Yuval Abraham, who is one of the 972 magazine investigative reporters in Israel. The very same Yuval Abraham that was the Israeli on the side of the Israeli side of No Other Land. This is also part of the reason why I don't, I'm always going to be somewhat skeptical of someone that, depending on what they say, if they are an investigative reporter in Israel. But having said that, this is why I don't wholeheartedly dismiss Israeli reporters. Yeah, here's the summarization from Bonzer Berry. 1 million calls an hour. Israel's Unit 8200 is relying on Microsoft's cloud for expansive surveillance of Palestinians. The Israeli military undertook an ambitious project to store a giant trove of Palestinian phone calls on Microsoft servers in Europe. Unit 8200 spy master at the time, Yossi Surreal, flew to Seattle to meet with CEO Satya Nadella, where he won Nadella's support for a plan that would grant Unit 8200 access to a customized and segregated area within Microsoft's Azure cloud platform. According to 3 8200 sources, the cloud-based storage platform has facilitated the preparation of deadly airstrikes that have shaped military operations in Gaza and the West Bank. The system was built to sit on Microsoft servers behind enhanced layers of security developed by the company's engineers within Unit 8200's instructions. The leaked Microsoft file suggests that a large proportion of the unit's sensitive data may now be sitting in the company's data centers in the Netherlands and Ireland. Despite Microsoft downplaying the partnership, claiming it's not used for lethal means, Unit 8200 sources said intelligence drawn from the enormous repositories of phone calls held in Azure had been used to research and identify bombing targets in Gaza. One of the sources said that when planning an airstrike of an individual located within densely populated areas where a high number of civilians are present, officers would use the cloud made by people in the immediate vicinity. Microsoft is directly participating in the genocide of Palestinians. Microsoft Gaming, Xbox, has already been a BDS priority target, and I don't know if they'll move in the direction of making Microsoft in its entirety a priority target. I don't even know how you could do that. I don't know how you could implement such a thing, considering that it's the most popular, perhaps almost the only operating service out there, operating software out there, which is part of the reason why the Palestinian National Committee is not going to be able to, push for something like that usually. But this is the reality of techno-fascism.
All right, for weeks, months even, Israel has been under pressure over starvation in Gaza, civilian deaths in Gaza, and indiscriminate bombings in Gaza. But tonight, Israel may be on the verge of a full takeover of Gaza. Just hours from now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
I mean, he said he's going to do this, and Trump said he's going to let Israel do this. So where is the question at this point? You know, this is what they said that they were going to do over and over and over again. Okay, they said that they were going to do it. They have repeatedly said that they were going to do it. And yet, for some weird reason, we rarely ever got coverage on this in the Western world. What now? What changed? Meanwhile, as the starvation continues and like Western outlets are finally reporting on it, the cover of Time magazine was staged. Why did they have to stage a photo of children starving? You have been played, says Eve Fartlow. Okay? Complete lie, as shown by alternate angles that show aid workers at the site distributing food. The photo you're claiming is staged was taken right before the distribution began. Insane. Insane that this person that got 15,000 likes for this, by the way, is capable of existing in polite society after doing such a thing. Okay? Because this is not any different than what Nick Fuentes has done, denying the ovens by claiming that you know, by doing like cookie memes and claiming that 6 million Jews didn't actually die. You're doing it. You're doing it in real time right now. This is precisely the same thing. And the Israeli Foreign Ministry is going along with it as well. Pallywood debunked. The Israeli Foreign Ministry is applying the term Pallywood, something that only we knew about because this used to be only... this used to be said by like some of the most rabid Kahanist freaks. Now it's the Israeli Foreign Ministry that is getting comfortable enough to say Pallywood, that it's all fake, it's all staged. It's just atrocity denial, it's genocide denial. And of course, Bild is the most pro-Netanyahu outlet. What a coincidence. A German newspaper, Bild, claims famine in Gaza is staged 2 weeks after his publisher, Netanyahu's close friend, gets awarded Israel's highest presidential medal. Same newspaper was caught publishing complete fakes leaked from Netanyahu's office last year. This was a big controversy for Bild. A Bild newspaper close to Netanyahu to receive presidential decoration. This is like Hitler awarding the Medal of Bravery to Henry Ford for his pamphlets that he wrote about Jewish people. His like anti-Semitic newspaper. It's no different. That's real, by the way. Hitler did do that to Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a massive fascist, a psychopath. In any case, the reason why they can only do this in Bild is because they have no more allies remaining. Yeah. According to Israeli logic, the mere act of taking a photo of hungry people affected by Israel's blockade means that starvation in Gaza is fake. They're staged. Using that same logic, because photos were taken of Holocaust victims, it means the Holocaust was staged. Don't fall for it. It is straightforward atrocity. It's the same principle that Holocaust deniers use to this day and used back then as it was unfolding. How insane, dude. Here's footage of the same site as the Time magazine photo that Bill Ackman and others are saying was staged. They will all retract and apologize after watching this. Of course they won't. You can tell by countless details that it is the precise same site that photographer did not stage it. Here's, for instance, the corrugated metal in the wall in both the video and the photo. The photo was clearly taken just before the aid distribution began. Wait, Bill Ackman deleted the tweet? That's surprising. Oh, he did. I didn't even realize he was quote retweeting Bill Ackman, Bill A. Packman, Bill Smokes Crackman. The damage has already been done. Honestly, I think the only thing that these guys are damaging is their own reputation. I don't think people at this stage will forget how psychotic these freaks have been. Remember, when I used to use terminology like this, people would shy away. People would get a little scared. Remember a year ago or 2 years ago? People will go, oh, dude, I don't know. Is it okay to call them freaks and monsters? Think about how much that shit was farmed. A year ago, when I used to say, you're a scumbag, genocide-denying monster, there were probably a bunch of libs, bunch of squishy libs, who refused to reckon with this reality, that turned around and said, oh, God, Hasan, you're a little too hateful for my taste. Now they say it too. Now they're using the same terminology. Like I've said, the only remaining hurdle here is the but Hamas shit, okay? But Hamas, but October 7. Israel is starving the population, but Hamas. That's it. And as time continues, I think more and more people will realize that that is not a real defense. This is true. I thought you were too hateful, but now I realize that's the reason why I never shied away from openly stating the reality that Hamas and Israel are not even on the same wavelength of evil, okay? Like, not even comparable. Israel has been and will forever be the responsible party for all of the atrocities that unfold, including against the Israeli civilian population. This is why I said that on October 8th, and I never stopped saying it, because it's the truth. It's the truth. If these are genocidal atrocities unfolding in broad daylight in real time, how do you expect people not to resist against said genocide? What is the expectation here? That they just starve quietly? That they die quietly? It's bullshit.
Is said to be ordering a full conquest of the Strip after talks with Hamas broke down. A source tells CNN the IDF objects to the move, but Israeli media cites senior officials close to Netanyahu saying if the IDF chief of staff does not agree, he should resign. Joining us at our fifth seat at the table is Peter Beiner, author of Being Jewish After the Destruction of Gaza. So full occupation, Peter, what would that do? What would that change?
I hope, but I also think this is a bluff. The Israeli people do not want this. I think what Netanyahu is trying to do is trying to bluff and hope that that will provide the ceasefire on terms that he wants, because a full conquest of Gaza would be an utter...
No, they do. Peter, they do, bro. Come on, man. 79% of Israeli Jews said that they do not care at all, or they do not care enough about the starvation in Gaza. Only 0.8% of Jews polled by the Israeli Democracy Institute have said that they have no opinion on this. Okay? 79% of Israeli Jews polled by the Israeli Democracy Institute have said they do not care about the starvation in Gaza, as in they know that it's happening and they just don't care. No opinion is awful too. Yeah, it's 0.8% have no opinion on it, as in you can't even say that they don't know. Okay? The reason why there is a demographic designation between Israeli Jews and Arabs is because that is Israel's own demographic distinction, for the record. When Dee was saying it was Pallywood and you reacting
The interview complete, our cameraman walked away.
So like why? So he is interviewing the guy.
Anyway, let's get back to this.
A catastrophe for the Palestinians of Gaza, who are already suffering immensely. And it would not save any hostages. It would actually put them in greater peril. And it would not destroy Hamas. Israel has been promising that it would destroy Hamas since October of 2023. And Hamas is still there. So this would be a catastrophe, but I suspect it won't happen.
What is this? Even the TikTok lib women are against you?
Well, look, whether it happens or not,
what?
frankly,
Dude,
the truth is Israel should have never...
Man, this has 400 likes. What is wrong with you? Take a week off. Like, what productive conversation is going to take place here? I'm going to yell at a person with 400 likes, and then even if I say don't go over there and don't yell at this person, people are still going to do that, and then that person is going to continue making content off of that, and it's only going to increase on the dog pile. Yeah, take a goddamn week off and really reconsider. What caused you to send a link like this? Who cares, man? Let people chirp. If they're going to chirp, they can chirp. Okay?
Left Gaza, because before 2005, we did not have a terrorist state. We had a booming economy. We had equality for the sexes. We didn't have gays being thrown off rooftops. But when Israel dragged every last man...
Oh, she just did the unlimited faucet. She just hit the full tilt. She just did all the things. Yeah, controversial far-right attorney Brooke Goldstein was platformed on CNN as a human rights attorney during a segment with John Berman and Pete Beinart. She's also on record saying there's no such thing as a Palestinian person.
I just wanted to mention that. Why are we using the word Palestinian? There's no such thing as a Palestinian person.
Yeah, disgusting, evil, monstrous piece of shit.
And woman and child as out of Gaza and exhumed the dead bodies because they knew what Hamas would do with it. We had a terror state, and that's a big mistake, and the world is yet to admit that. And the real question is, why is the world preventing Gazans from leaving Gaza? Why are they insisting that they remain as human hostages for Hamas and as civilian human shields? And the third point really is, are they refugees or are they not refugees? Because if Gazans are Palestinian refugees, then Gaza is not their home and they should be relocated so that they are not used by Hamas as human shields.
Yeah, they should be. To Israel proper, where they were pushed away from. I agree. 750,000 Palestinians forcibly excised from their ancestral homeland by Zionist brigades at the nation state's inception. Yeah, move them back. Give them a right to return. I agree. I don't think she does. When she says relocated, she's talking about a concentration camp. She's talking about other Arab countries. That's what she's talking about, because all Arabs are the same. It's a monolithic force of evil.
If Gaza is their home, then the entire premise upon which the whole Israeli-Palestinian conflict...
It's insane, dude. What are we doing here? CNN at this stage is still like having a far-right, rabid, ultra-Zionist. And then like the only counter to this is like Peter Beinart. Like this person... The equivalent of this person is like an Abu Obaida type, okay? Like the equivalent to this person is someone who just is going to stand there and straight up be like, October 7 was awesome and should happen 1,000,000 times over, which Abu Obaida has not said. I'm just, you know, trying to give you the extremes that she's going to, but she, of course, is seen as like a reasonable person, a human rights lawyer. It's ridiculous.
Is based and the right of return is false. The only people being deliberately starved in Gaza are the hostages right now. You look at Avitar David.
It's not the same, Hasan. Yeah, actually, you're right. It's not. It's not. It's not even the same. It would be the equivalent of this person on the opposing side would be a rabid neo-Nazi who denies the Holocaust and says that it should happen again. That's basically what it is. It's not even, there is no like Palestinian equivalence to this because Palestinians have historically been oppressed by Israel. The only adequate analog here would be a straight up neo-Nazi, which I hope CNN does not have, by the way. Holy, like that's the next stage in this. Anyone but a Palestinian, anyone but someone who is from this background, anyone but someone who is directly connected to the atrocities. Holy, these guys will literally have a neo-Nazi before they will have on a Palestinian. Oh my Lord, dude.
Looks like a concentration camp survivor who was forced to dig his own grave. When the body of Eden Yerushalmi, after she was...
Yeah. Palestinians do not look like concentration camp survivors. Only the Israeli hostage looks like a concentration camp survivor. Interesting. Well, Israel is the one denying the Israeli prisoner of war, not a hostage. He's a military member, okay? Prisoner of war. Israel is the one who is starving him all the same. What do you mean? It's not like they got tremendous amounts of food in there and Hamas is just like, nope, we're not going to give it to you. It's crazy. Think about it. The only person that's starving in the Gaza Strip is the one Israeli soldier? Really? After a week of denying the starvation, you turn around and you say, yeah, actually, starvation Israel is the one Israeli guy in the Strip. Insane.
Murdered was returned. She was 70 pounds. Contrast that to the pictures, these, I'll say, artistic pictures of children, most of them with diseases.
And also, really, Brooke?
Yes, really.
I mean,
yes,
really, you're
propaganda
saying
pictures of these children. You never see pictures of adults. And famine is not selective, Peter. You can't have a child who's starving and then the mother is
Brooke, are we really,
overweight or the brother is fully fed.
The picture of Avitar David was horrifying. Are we really debating whether people are starving in Gaza?
No, we're debating who is responsible. No, but because
it sounds like you're saying that these are made-up pictures.
Who is responsible
for
any food shortages
Okay, so let's
in Gaza.
acknowledge that there are people starving in Gaza.
Is Hamas responsible?
Why don't you? I think you should let me finish
because you spoke the way that you let me finish last time. Does Hamas steal the food and use it as a food weapon?
You just spoke for a long time. Let me just say something.
Does Hamas steal food?
The Palestinians in Gaza are indeed refugees. It's true. They are the descendants, most of them, of families that were expelled from Israel in 1948. So if Gaza is not habitable for them, because Israel has destroyed most of the schools, most of the churches, most of the mosques, most of the bakeries, most of the agriculture, most of the universities, then they should be allowed to return to the places from which they're from, which is not Burundi or Somalia or Rwanda. It's Israel. right? If you want to give them a place to go out of Gaza, allow them to go back to the places from which their families were expelled.
I think you have a problem with cause and effect. You like to blame Israel for everything. Israel did not destroy their hospitals, destroy their schools.
No.
The schools and the hospitals that I've been to have been used as places for rocket depots, and most of those hospitals are used as Hamas for their headquarters. Hamas is responsible when you have your headquarters under a hospital, and you shoot rockets into a civilian
where is Israel's
population,
military headquarters located?
And you shoot.
I have a question. Where is Israel, the Kiryat? Where is Israel's military locators headquarters? Is it in a remote area?
Israel has military
No, answer the question.
everywhere.
Where is
Oh, do they? Oh, why are you bringing up Israel? Why? Are you Hamas? Peter Beinat, are you Hamas? Why you bring up Israel? Say I'm Israel Chai. You are Hamas. No politic here. No politic. Israel, tiny nation. You are Hamas. If people were as knowledgeable as they are now about the atrocities that Israel has committed throughout its 80-year of occupation, brutal occupation, the ruthless violence that they subject the Palestinians to, this shit wouldn't have played as well as it did on October 8th either. That's why I was saying what I was saying on October 8th. That's why many who were already involved in pro-Palestinian emancipation and pro-Palestinian advocacy were saying what they were saying on October 8th. Okay? You can't make it everybody else's problem that you were not knowledgeable.
Headquarters. Is it in a remote area?
Israel has military
No, answer the question.
everywhere.
Where is
Oh, do they? Oh, why are you bringing up Israel? Why? Are you Hamas? Peter Beinat, are you Hamas? Why you bring up Israel? Say I'm Israel Chai. You are Hamas. No politic here. No politic. Israel, tiny nation, you are Hamas. She's trying to pull the 10/8/2023 commentary on August 5th, 2025. It doesn't work anymore. It should have never worked, but unfortunately, because of the void in the media in terms of covering the Palestinian position and recognizing the humanity of Palestinians, it did work on 10/8/2023. And it worked for quite a while. But it doesn't work anymore, and these guys can't handle it. That's why they get increasingly more belligerent. That's why they do Pallywood. Pallywood is like, Pallywood used to be the type of atrocity denial that even Israelis were like, dude, stop. You're making us look bad too. Now they're the ones doing it. Like, I never thought I would see straightforward Pallywood sentiment, straightforward atrocity denial, straightforward genocide denial being mainstreamed in American news, dude. There was a sense of shame amongst at least liberal Zionists about the way that settlers operated, right? Like, oh, they're so gross. They're like religious freaks. They're bad. They're bad for Israel's reputation in the Western world. We don't like them. They don't even say that no more. Everyone turned to a Kahanist. Israeli society broadly, post-October 7, has turned into Kahanists. Every single one of them. What the? Stop being a bonehead, start using chat like a teacher and not the tutor you want to because she makes it so, what?
No.
What are you saying?
You didn't answer my question. Where is Israel's military? It is in downtown Tel Aviv. So let me say that.
They have a headquarters in Tel Aviv.
You got to let me finish. Israel's military headquarters is in downtown Tel Aviv, right? Many of the apartment buildings in Tel Aviv house Israeli generals. Under international law, you don't have the right to destroy the schools around Israel's military headquarters or to destroy.
No, let me finish. Shoot rockets from downtown Tel Aviv.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It quite literally does. What do you think an anti-air defense system is? That's precisely what Israel is doing. That is literally what Israel did. We found out because guess what? When Iran was striking the out of Israel proper, we saw the videos. We saw the munitions being deployed from crowded neighborhoods. Shut the fuck up.
Of course, Israel has its military infrastructure deeply embedded within the civilian infrastructure as well. And in international law, it would be a war crime to destroy a hospital or an apartment building in Tel Aviv because an Israeli general
yeah, that's it. That's it. That's true. It's 100% true. If the rest of the world operated with Israel's metrics for what is a permissible military target, you could literally nuke Tel Aviv, okay? Because virtually everyone is an IDF veteran. They have mandatory conscription, right? They have the mandatory draft in Israel, men and women too. Like, it's not, no, luckily for Israel, I guess, people don't behave like Israel.
There. Similarly, it is a violation of international law to destroy a hospital or university or school in Gaza just because you believe that there are Hamas.
It is a violation of international law.
Yeah, there isn't any proof that Hamas shoots missiles from the hospitals, by the way. That's just bullshit. That is literally bullshit. Dude, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But it's also along the same lines as Hamas is starving the Palestinian population, or the Palestinian mothers are starving their own children deliberately so the world thinks Israel is bad and wrong. Okay? That's it. It's bullshit. There is no evidence, and there's never been any evidence. And ironically enough, as is the case with everything that Israel says versus everything that Israel does, it's projection. They say Hamas uses human shields. Israel literally uses Palestinians as human shields. Like in they will literally stick Palestinians that they have chained in IDF gear and walk them into the tunnels, or they will use them to identify explosive devices. They'll use Palestinian children that they strap to their cars. They do this in the West Bank. They do this in Gaza. They literally do it while claiming that the Palestinians are doing it. It is pure evil.
To use civilians as human shields. Can we agree on that?
Yes, and that is...
Do you support the temporary relocation of Gaza so that they're not used?
God forbid I do not. I don't want Palestinians expelled
Gazans...
again. The Palestinians were expelled in 1948. You want to expel them again?
No.
That's a war crime, bro.
That's not what I said.
Hang on one sec. Hang on one sec.
Temporary? You think Israel's going to allow them back if they leave? Come on.
All right. I want to bring others into this discussion if you want to be part of this discussion. But the question at hand is, given where things are now, this stalemate, would things be better if Israel took over Gaza, complete occupation?
No, I actually think I think this issue is more nuanced than people give it credit for. And a lot of times we debate this issue.
Bakari sellout. Guys, let me be the voice of reason here. It's a little bit more nuanced. Okay? It's a little bit more nuanced and more complex. There is nothing complex about genocide, Bakari. Shut the fuck up.
On X or on Twitter. And you just saw these two individuals who are dug in, who believe with all their heart and all their might, their particular...
Yeah, come on. Give us some reasonable centrism. Come on, Bakari. Interesting. Also, another paid actor for Israel presenting himself as the reasonable third party here that's far removed from the equation. Let me be the nuanced voice.
Points, and people try to debate this on Fox News, or they try to debate it on X, and they miss it in totality. For example, Democrats, what I would go with is Democrats have to be able to say that, it's very difficult for Israel, and
So where's Hamas getting all the ammunition from? Is Israel needs to supply American weapons? Who's supplying Hamas with all the stuff to attack Israel? Great question. They don't. You think they have used even a fraction of the munitions that Israel's deployed? Israel has dropped numerous atom bombs worth of munitions on Gaza. Hamas has not done that. There's no capability there. They don't have the capability. At most, they got a bunch of 18-year-olds wearing sandals running up to $30 million pieces of equipment and dumping an IED in there going, Kobe, because the Israeli diaper force is too worried about standing outside of their goddamn tanks. Ironically enough, also, they do actually make weapons off of the unexploded ordinances that Israel deploys in Gaza, too. Yeah, Al-Qassam uses the failed munitions dropped on them to create munitions that do work. That is that, too. Yeah. Farm the table, baby. That's right. Locally grown, organic bathtub RPGs that they use on the Israeli tanks. Thank God the diaper force is just so ass. Oh my Lord, dude. Baby killers. Yeah, they've dropped, at this point, 70,000 tons of explosives, 6 Hiroshima nukes. Yeah, defining Peter pushing back on genocide denial as dug into his position is so bad faith. Kobe is crazy law. Love that one, man. Have you not seen the videos? Electronic Intifada does an assessment report every day almost. I, of course, can't play them on the broadcast. Even though it is legally appropriate, it is literally legal for any Palestinian to do that to an Israeli occupying force soldier that is illegally occupying the Gaza Strip. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way in the Western world. It is literally not only the legal thing for the Palestinians to do, which is to smoke the Israeli occupying force soldiers that are sitting inside of their armored personnel carriers, okay, that are currently conducting an ethnic cleansing campaign. It is also the moral thing for them to do. The double Monty, both legal and moral.
Pro-Israel Democrat, for Democrats to be able to simply say that Bibi Netanyahu, yes, he's an impediment to peace, but you also cannot negotiate with Hamas, who doesn't believe you have a right to exist. Occupation is something that we can't stand for. Starving Gazans are something that we cannot stand for. However, we have to be able to say that we need to bring every hostage home. It shouldn't be that difficult.
It's not that hard. It's
for us to have this debate.
We're losing our humanity. There's a lot that Brooks said there. I don't have time to challenge it. I'm also not a Middle East relations guy. This is not going to be Ben Affleck and Sam Steen on Real Time with Bill Maher arguing about that years ago. Look, at the end of the day, I've been working with Project Unite Humanity, projectuh.org. They're helping with the relief efforts. My friend Dr. Robert Lowry, who went to the great school of Rutgers University here. This is something that's very personal to me. As I was telling you off air, that my niece is Palestinian that lives out in Colorado. But that doesn't absolve the fact that October 7th was horrific. That doesn't absolve the fact of what happened in those kibbutzes. That doesn't absolve the fact of that video that came out today of that person that looked like he was about 68 pounds or so walking through those tunnels, as well as
my Lord, brother.
That look exactly.
Oh my Lord, brother. It is crazy. Still doing this shit. What do you mean, dude? What do you mean? What do you mean? There has been an October 7 3 times every week in Gaza. Like, how can people still hold on to this shit? You just genuinely don't think Palestinians are human beings. Even if you have a Palestinian niece, okay, you must not think that your Palestinian niece is a human. Like, what are we talking about? It's like, oh. If you are still talking about October 7 at this stage, you just want to give permission to Israel to do the genocide, but you're too ashamed to stand 10 toes down and say it, okay?
Ever since then, Israel committed 1,007th of October. You understand it? 1,007th of October, Israel committed. The children, if you take the numbers, the figures, the way that they are being killed, you see that we cannot claim again and again about the 7th of October and justify with the 7th of October all those horrible crimes against humanity which are taking place. There is a stage in which you cannot again and again try to remind us about the terrible things that happened on the 7th of October and the 20 living hostages. You know that every 6 minutes, every 6 hours, Israel is killing 20 people? And they are as innocent as the hostages, among them many children. So stop with the 7th of October. It's unacceptable to rely only on this and to say the 7th of October enable us to go crazy and to do those crimes. And second point, stop speaking about Smotrich. The concentration camp in Rafiah is the idea of Israel Katz, Minister of Defense, nothing to do with Smotrich. Netanyahu let all this happen. It's not Smotrich. The idea of the humanitarian center or city, whatever, is clearly a stage on the way to transfer them. They say it, not I say. They say that they will be able to get out of this concentration camp only if they move to another country. This is ethnic cleansing, and it's not Smotrich. It is the Israeli government, the whole government behind it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the more this goes on, the more people come to the recognition that Israel is a Nazi society and the Israeli occupying force is a Nazi force, is the SS, and that Israel's defenders are Holocaust enjoyers, Holocaust defenders. That's it. You might have thought that that was a deeply, deeply anti-Semitic thing to say, a deeply anti-Semitic comparison, and there were plenty of people who tried to fight that. You know, there were plenty of people who tried to fight that reality. Where are they now?
Like that human being. You should have the same level of ire for who's causing both. I know that Hamas is a terrorist organization, how they came into power in 2007 and took over in that region, even though they were duly elected at first. I know all of that. The West has already admitted that Hamas is a terrorist organization. If we're admitting that we can't negotiate with terrorists, we can't expect the terrorists to be on the up and up. It's Israel that has to do this. And there's only one common denominator in these last 38 years in that entire region. His name is Benjamin Netanyahu. He's the one common denominator in all of this. He's from the PLA to every...
The only thing I would disagree with, that is the only common denominator. Because, yes, you can't diminish the fact that Hamas does not believe Israel has a right to exist. And if we're going to sit here...
Shut the up, Bakari. You're a liar. That's not true. 2018 Hamas charter actually dictates they want 1967 boundaries. In more than 30 different negotiations processes, Hamas has actively said over and over and over again that they want 1967 boundaries and 2 states with full sovereignty for the Palestinian states. That's it. Shut up. You're lying. These people are just lying. That's all they're doing. Okay? They're just liars. And the only reason why this kind of lie works is because people are not knowledgeable of the actual situation, because everyone else in the fucking media is lying as well. Okay? Yeah. It's not Hamas that thinks that. I think that. Okay? I think that Israel has no right to exist as an apartheid state, okay? I think that, not Hamas. Hamas wants a 2-state solution. I don't even know how we're going to get to the process of denazification. Like, how do we do re-education, rehabilitation? How do we do that? How do we do that for Israel? How do we do that for the 79% of Israeli Jews that look to the starvation in Gaza right now to this day, okay, that's happening, that's unfolding in real time, and with the full knowledge of that starvation still say, we don't care. What do you do? What do you do with that? What do you do with that? That's the real question that we should be asking ourselves. What do we do?
Have this conversation, we have to acknowledge that Israel does have a right to exist.
But they already exist.
And my only point is, I hear you. And
they exist. We know that.
And I hear you. And all I'm saying is that, like, I feel, for me, someone who simply says that Israel has the right to exist, and I believe Israel being an American value, but to watch those pictures of Palestinian children...
Yeah, it's not an American value in the way that you want to present it, though. If you think... I mean, it is, in some respects, an American value. We did do the genocide of the indigenous population when we were designing this nation state, you know, Manifest Destiny and the like. It's also ridiculous because Bakari Sellers is a black man in the United States of America, and he is lapping up this like pro-American propaganda because he is so predisposed with eating Israel's dick all the way to completion that he has to forget about this country's own history, I guess, in that moment. But yeah, it is actually American values or American culture if you think about it from that perspective. Yeah, also, obviously, Bakari sellout, you know, being a hack who sucks up billionaire dollars and throws progressives under the bus. Where could they have possibly gotten that from? New super PAC aims to elect pro-Israel black Democrats, including challenger to Rashida Tlaib. Bakari Sellers, a political commentator who appears in the PAC's literature as a spokesman, told Politico that Israel was definitely high up on the list in the decision by the super PAC to endorse Janice, whatever, I can't read the last name, the Detroit city clerk who's challenging incumbent Democrat Representative Rashida Tlaib. Tlaib is Israel's most strident critic in Congress and the only one who openly says it should not exist as a Jewish state. Oh, so she's been right all along. Oh, wow. Wonder how that happened. Yeah, look, you may not like Bakari's those pragmatic ways, but at least he's electable. Oh, no. Never mind.
It bothers me, right? To my core. And I can't empathize with these two.
I can't empathize with these two. You can't empathize with Peter Beinart. Like, I understand why someone would, even an Israel defender would try to distance themselves from the psychotic freak sitting next to you. But you can't say, first of all, you're not even Jewish, okay? Bakari Sellers is not Jewish, okay? He is a Christian, I believe. I think he's Christian. Doesn't really matter here. He's there on the panel to defend Israel. Okay, Bakari Sellout is there to defend Israel. Okay, But the guy you're yelling at is a former liberal Zionist who is Jewish. Peter Beinart is Jewish. And he used to be a liberal Zionist. What are we doing?
Can I just put a bow on this real quick? And all I'm saying is that there is a space for all of us to simply say that we want this to come to a peaceful resolution where there should not be a decision between inhumanity and cruelty. Correct. And I should be able to say that Benjamin Netanyahu is an impediment to peace, and I should also be able to say that Hamas can go to hell. I should be able to say both of those.
Why? Why? I should be able to say Hamas can go to hell? Okay, if you want peace, they are that have been trying to do peace. They are. They 100% are. They have tried actively, desperately, over and over again, in spite of the starvation, in spite of the genocide. They are the ones who are the reasonable party here, 100%. You will never hear that in mainstream news. Peter Beinart will not say that, or maybe give it a couple months. Maybe he'll start saying it too. But ultimately, no one on a CNN panel is going to sit there and literally tell you the truth. That's what's so crazy about this, because this is not an exaggeration, okay? This is not an exaggeration. It is just an accurate reflection of events. That's what's so crazy about it. I am not demanding that these guys like become biased in the direction of the Palestinians. I'm just saying be biased in the direction of the truth, please. Just a little bit, just a crumb of real analysis of the events that have unfolded after 22 months. I don't know about Hamas. What do you mean you don't know about Hamas? You don't have to know about Hamas. The only thing you need to know is the truth. There are two parties to a negotiation, okay? One party has executed the principal negotiator in another country. That's not Hamas that did that. It was Israel that did that. They killed Ismail Haniyeh on Iranian soil. Okay? There have been numerous instances where Hamas has put forward a ton of concessions over and over and over again. Their only demand is a permanent cessation of hostilities. They've broken it down to a 3-phase ceasefire negotiation. Israel broke that ceasefire negotiation. Israel refused to entertain that permanent cessation of hostility. Okay? Who attacked first? That side deserves to lose. I agree. I agree with you. But I don't think you know the history. And that's why you're stupid enough to think that history started on October 7. I do agree that the side that attacked first deserves to lose. Look up the Nakba and you will understand which side was the one that attacked first. Because October 7 is not the first attack. But this is the problem. You don't know the history. The problem is you don't know the truth. You don't know the history. And because there are so many professional, serious outlets with serious thinkers that are also actively deluding you, you can get away with not knowing the truth. And it's ironic because you've been following since 2022, so you've probably heard me speak about Israel before.
I'm going to talk. So I will say this. President Trump has said that he sees starvation in Gaza and it bothers him. He says that the First Lady Melania, and it bothers him.
Why is this 360p?
The Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, says he sees starvation in Gaza and it bothers him. If that's the baseline here, then what do you do? And I go back to the question, the original question about you, and you jump in on any subject you want here, but occupation, reoccupation, full reoccupation of Gaza, what would that change? Would that free the hostages, for instance?
So I was expecting to come in here like guns blazing, but I've been...
Yeah, Batya Unger Sargon is another one of these freaks. Okay, so there is like, on this panel, you got one guy who's like wishy-washy, both sidesing it a little bit. Okay, you got Peter Beinart, who is like supposed to be the pro-Palestinian position, which, by the way, there's plenty of people who are definitely even more aggressive than Peter is. But he is the pro-Palestinian person here. You have a literal envoy of Israel and another rabid, psychopathic envoy of Israel. So it's 3 versus 1.5? What are we doing? What is this panel, dude? Is this Jubilee? Are we doing surrounded by Nazis? How is this any different? There should be at least one guy who can convincingly say on this panel that Israel is an apartheid ethno-state that is built on the values of Jewish supremacy and is currently doing a genocide, and therefore, of course, it does not have a right to exist. What are we talking about? Are we having a conversation about whether or not Nazi Germany has a right to exist? Are we having a conversation about the British occupation of Ireland? Do they have a right to occupy Ireland? Does France have a right to occupy Algeria? Does South Africa as an apartheid state have a legal right to exist? No, we're not having those conversations. Oh, well, does the Confederacy have a right to exist? Let's discuss. Here we have 4 slavers versus 1 person who believes black people are human. What an insane conversation this is. There needs to be like 4 other people on here. If this was a correctly balanced situation, there would be 4 people on here, some of which are unconditionally and uncompromisingly pro-Hamas, which, by the way, is not even equivalent to the IDF. And yet you have 4 people who are unconditionally and uncompromisingly pro-IDF. Ridiculous. Oh, they're a serious military. They're conducting a serious military campaign. Okay, they're conducting a serious genocide. It's over. At that point, they're not a serious military.
Free the hostages, for instance.
So I was expecting to come in here like guns blazing, but I've been totally disarmed by Bakari, like legitimate to my core. Like I'm so moved by everything that you said.
Shut the... I can't watch the rest of this. It's making me lose my mind, dude. Oh my God. Oh my God. I, as an Israel defender, am moved to tears by the other Israel defender on the panel. Okay.
Like at a very, very deep level. So thank you for that. I will say, I think in the conversation, I agree with Peter. I don't think this is going to happen. And in a way, I'm very bothered that we're talking about something that's obviously not going to happen instead of the footage that came out of Eviatar David starving and digging his own grave. And it seems to me that that was a ploy on Hamas's behalf to show that they controlled the media narrative, that they could get the media to talk about the horrific hunger conditions in Gaza and then get the media not to talk about this starving young man, this innocent life who's literally being starved day by day because they control the mainstream liberal media. And what they've done is they've made it such, they've cut themselves out of the story. And so people don't, there's a fundamental inability to blame Hamas. People will say, I condemn Hamas, but they never blame them because
I don't know what to say. I can't. I loop back around from being uncontrollably angry to laughing at the notion that, like, people are not sufficiently upset at Hamas, which the American State Department is designated as a terrorist organization. That's the problem, you know? You just don't hate Hamas enough. No, the real problem is you don't hate Israel enough, okay? Hamas is not the one doing a genocide. Israel is. What the fuck are we talking about? This is Sargon of Akkad. She actually went through gender confirmation. Yeah, Sargon of Mossad. Yeah, we all know how much good press Hamas has gotten. She'd say Hamas did a genocide on 10/7. Okay, then we need to reconsider the term genocide then. Because if 10/7 is a genocide, then what Israel has done is something different. Like it's something far worse than a genocide. And there is nothing worse than a genocide.
there's this view that the party with less power has zero moral responsibility.
Yes, they do not. They do not have a moral responsibility for the genocide that Israel is committing. They don't. No matter how hard you say, oh, but Hamas, but Hamas, but Hamas. Yes, Israel is responsible for the genocide. Are the Jews responsible for the Holocaust? Would you say that? Would you turn around and say, but the Jews? But what about the socialists? What about the trade unionists? What about the Jewish partisans? Would they be responsible for the Holocaust? No, of course not. Which is precisely the reason why Hamas is not responsible for the Holocaust of the Palestinians. Shut up. She would? No, she wouldn't. No, she wouldn't. As a matter of fact, if someone were to say that on a panel like that, everyone would yell at that person in perpetuity. They would literally delete the footage. They would not even upload that shit. That's the difference.
peace. And thus all the moral responsibility is on Israel. And I think we need to reject that kind of thinking because Hamas is to blame for this. And I say that despite having things that we all agree Israel could have done much better and much differently.
Peter, we're going to go to Peter, and then we're taking a break. Peter, go ahead.
100% responsible for the horrific conditions they're holding Aviatar David in and for the people they killed on October 7th.
See, this is why I'm saying Peter Beinart is like, come on, dude. Come on. Come on, dude. Yeah, what should they have done? Should they have just like magically created food for the prisoner of war? There's like 1 million plus other people that are also starving on the strip. Because the reality is, if you say Hamas is absolutely responsible for the conditions of the prisoner of war, then you're basically saying the same shit that this dumbass is saying, which is that Hamas is responsible for the Gaza Strip starving. Okay? You can't have one and not the other.
And for everyone they kidnapped, absolutely. But Hamas is not responsible for the fact that Israel cut off all food, water, and fuel.
Why is Israel starving its own hostages? Because they're freaks, big dog. What do you mean? Because they just only care about doing genocide. Because Israel wants to do genocide. That's it. That's the reason why they are starving the Israelis that are still held in captivity. That is why they shot the Israelis in captivity that had escaped. Literally, they did that. They did that a year ago. That's the same reason why they've bombed Israeli hostages and prisoners of war alike, because they do not give a about the hostages. The hostages are simply a distraction that takes away from the actual genocide campaign that they are committed to. Okay?
To Gaza for almost 3 months this year. Israel has to take responsibility for its war crimes, just as Hamas has to take responsibility for its.
I don't think they should have done that, but when
if you want to learn more, Google the Hannibal Directive. Or better yet, after you're done Googling the Hannibal Directive, Google Yoav Gallant Hannibal Directive. Yoav Gallant was the defense minister at the time, war criminal, by the way. And he openly admitted that they used the Hannibal Directive on October 7, as in shooting Israelis with Israeli weapons so that they were not taken as hostages to be used as a bargaining chip against Israel, because Israeli society doesn't like that. Israeli society wants the hostages to be freed. Even those who want the genocide to continue still want their friends to come back home. That's kind of the, that's kind of the problem with having a supremacist ideology. When members of the supreme in-group are captured, all of a sudden you have to do your very best to at least quash the discontent that is brewing in society that want their neighbors to return home.
they did do that, there was a store of 4 to 6 months worth of aid.
Well, evidently not.
Evidently not. It was poorly handled. I totally think it was poorly.
Wasn't he the moderating voice in the war cabinet? Shut the fuck up. No, he wasn't. He's literally a war criminal who literally said on October 9th, we are fighting human animals. We must starve them. We must shut off their electricity, their water, and their food. We are fighting human animals. Okay? I assume you were trying to do the Ethan Klein joke or something. I was joking. Ethan Klein said that. Okay, well, don't even meme about that shit.
But they believed that there was enough food there. The distribution broke down.
I think
horrifically.
Do you think Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir, who are both key positions in this government, really cared that much whether there was enough food? They're important people in this. They matter a lot. I don't think this government cared very much about whether there was enough food.
All right, Mike, you're gonna have the last word here. Then we go to break.
I mean, I just want to echo what a friend of mine who's a war correspondent for another network that I used to work at down the street. We're not going to mention them. Fox News.
Yeah, here is Batya Unger Sargon of Mossad. In an absolutely unhinged meltdown, MAGA columnist Batya Unger Sargon of Mossad, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, shouts about undocumented immigrants having too many rights. At what point do we ask if giving these right-wing lunatics a platform on CNN is a good idea? Too many rights. The undocumented migrants have too many rights.
As he's done his reporting, we're losing our humanity. We're legitimately losing our humanity in all this argument. The images that you see of one person that looks exactly like the other person,
Hamas has been in power for so long.
Hamas has been in power.
The irony is I'm the only person at this table who's actually risked my life to advocate for Palestinian children. I spent 2 years in and out of Jenin, Ramallah, Tulkam, and Nablus. I'm the one who interviewed Hamas firsthand. I interviewed Islamic Jihad firsthand. I sat with the Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigades, and they told me,
you are a Nazi, okay? You are a Nazi. I interviewed Hamas so I could come here and tell you they are barbaric apes that must be killed. That's why I interviewed Hamas. I risked my life talking to Hamas. I risked my life. Were you risking your life defending Palestinian children from the Israeli military? Is that who you were risking your life against?
To my face that they want war. This is not about Hamas. This is about an ideology. And
I interviewed Hamas and they told me, I hate Jews. I hate Jews. I want to kill Jews, said Hamas. Yeah. This is the same lady that last year, as I showed you earlier, said, there's no such thing as a Palestinian human, a Palestinian person. Why are we saying Palestinian?
Ideology is
you don't wipe
radical
an ideology out by
in their schools, in their textbooks, to revere death, to love death, and not to love life. And they use those.
This is so gross. This is so racist and gross, okay? Hamas, the Palestinian children are being taught to hate Jews by Hamas in the textbook. In the textbook. The Juden children are being taught at an early age to hate the volk, who are heaven sent. The Übermensch will rise up. Oh, yes. This is why we must put them in the concentration camp. Because the Jews, they are being taught. They're being taught to hate the Germans, the real Germans. Ja, jawohl.
Population is human shields. This is what you get, a terrorist state and a democracy fighting on an asymmetric battlefield and a completely impossible place. Because how are they supposed to defeat Hamas when there's no food shortages, but there is starvation?
They destroyed Gaza and they have not defeated Hamas.
All right, here's what we're going to do. Bakari Sellers, you got 10 seconds, then go on a break.
I don't even need 10 seconds. What I wish is that we did not make this a political football. And what's happened since 2008, since the election of Barack Obama, we've made this Democrat and Republican. This isn't about, how do we have peace here? It's not about the images that we see. It's about who can make Bibi Netanyahu or whatever, and right and left. And this cannot be that if we're going to find a place where we can coexist. I mean, pardon me for being just naive.
Well, not naive. I'm not sure there's much reason for optimism, though. Peter, thank you for being with us tonight. I appreciate it. Next, we're learning tonight that the president's mega bill is going to cost.
Oh, God, I hate Bakari sellout.